Despite a lackluster first season, Yellowstone has ingratiated itself with audiences in the US following 3 stronger seasons. Though it's been criticized by many as a conservative narrative, the show's creator, Taylor Sheridan, has recently spoken out against that stance. A lot of Sheridan's ongoing projects right now are Yellowstone spin-offs, so it's led some to believe that Tulsa King might exist in the same universe. We'll be covering all that in today's video. First up, Yellowstone as a conservative narrative. When Yellowstone's first season came out, it wasn't particularly popular with anyone, with most reviews being either mixed or negative. But as the years have gone on since its premiere in 2017, it's undoubtedly gotten a lot better and found a dedicated audience. That audience has been primarily American conservatives, and it's led to critics labeling it as a red state show. The show stars Kevin Costner as John Dutton, the owner of a ranch in Montana that's named Yellowstone. Throughout the series, Dutton struggles against looming threats against his land and business. Putting aside the themes and representation within the show, it makes sense that its Western setting would attract the audience that it has. The upcoming season now seems like it could be the biggest one yet for Sheridan's team, but series creator Taylor Sheridan doesn't seem to agree with critics when it comes to placing the show as entertainment specifically for conservatives, and he doesn't seem to be content with letting that opinion continue to gain traction. Next, Sheridan sets the record straight. Sheridan recently spoke to The Atlantic to clear up what he thinks are misconceptions about what the show's about, or what its intentions are. He insisted that the show might have a cast that's dominated by white actors and takes place within the Republican-dominant state of Montana. It deals with a lot of themes and premises in the plot that are actually quite progressive. He directly addressed the statement about it being red state, saying that when he hears those words, it just makes him laugh, because that's not at all what he intended, and also expressed confusion at this whole idea, pointing out that the show deals with how Native Americans were displaced and how women of that ethnicity are treated. He then brought up the fact that there's a clear denouncement of corporate greed and gentrification in the show, which doesn't really line up with the opinion of the show being geared toward a Republican outlook. Coming up, Yellowstone's critique. As we mentioned earlier, it's easy to see why, at first glance, one might think that Yellowstone is entertainment that's tailored for audiences that hold conservative views. A large part of that has to do with the fact that it's defined within the Western genre. Of course, there would understandably be some conservative or outdated values that come with that territory, since it harkens back to a time when people weren't as sensitive to struggles and individual grievances as many are today. Factor in the primarily right-leaning audience, and you can see why people that aren't really too familiar with the content of the show are criticizing it for championing the ideals that are associated with conservatives. But when you look a little deeper, it's hard to really argue that the show is completely lost in a conservative agenda. It may be a predominantly white, rural American setting, but that isn't all that's on display here. In fact, the show makes use of that setting to critique the dynamics that are at play there. John Dutton might be the white conservative protagonist of the show, but his actions are very much framed in a way to shed light on the negative impact that they have. The show makes it a point to display the tragic consequences of the greed that underlies what Dutton and his family get up to. It isn't easy to depict an ideology or lifestyle realistically and criticize it at the same time, but Yellowstone does do it fairly well. Now, for Yellowstone's diversity, a big concern for those labeling the show as red state is of course the use of a mainly white cast. Representation is important, and how culture and race are represented is of immense importance in this day and age. Media plays a big role in how people perceive things, and a dishonest and biased representation of things could lead to a lot of harm in the real world. Though the show might focus its attention on white characters, screen time isn't wholly dedicated to them. A major plot in the show revolves around indigenous people and a Native American chief, Thomas Rainwater, who serves as the powerful head of a reservation. His character is considered one of the best in the series, thanks to a stunning performance by actor Gil Birmingham. Rainwater is depicted as being strong, intelligent, and a major player in the battles for land in the show. This makes it even clearer as to why Sheridan scoffs at the idea of the show being conservative. He's always championed the cause of Native Americans, having made a name for himself in those communities thanks to a film released in 2017 called Wind River. That film highlighted the issue of missing and murdered indigenous women in America. He's also instructed his casting directors to ensure that Native American roles always go to actors that have traceable Native American ancestry. Moving on, could Tulsa King share the same universe? After his first proper role in the creation of a film with Sicario in 2015, Taylor Sheridan has kept himself quite busy. He had his first true directorial debut in 2017 with Wind River, and in the same year, he wrote, directed, and produced Yellowstone. The years following were even more packed, with Sheridan creating 5 new shows, 2 of which are confirmed to be prequels to Yellowstone, with 2 2 more announced to be in development. Considering the fact that he's got so many connected shows either running right now or in development, it's no wonder that people have begun to speculate that his show Tulsa King might exist in the same universe as Yellowstone as well. But there isn't really any evidence within either show to suggest that this might be the case. Sheridan himself hasn't really said anything about this theory, but it's not entirely implausible to think that they might be connected later. Sheridan has created a collection of shows to explore the history of the Dutton family, and given that their story is coming to a head in season 5 of Yellowstone, they'll need to move on somewhere else. There's no reason that the extension of the plot can't be incorporated into Tulsa King, or have that show's story propel the family forward in some way. So, at the moment, the only real connection that the two shows have is the fact that Sheridan created both of them. But that's enough for fans to believe that they'll cross over. So let's talk about a possible tie-in. Given Sheridan's inclination towards developing his Yellowstone universe, it's not out of the question to have Tulsa King cross over. Neither John Dutton nor Sylvester Stallone's Dwight Manfredi would feel out of place in each other's shows, given the kind of settings and plots that each revolves around. But what could possibly cause these two characters to stumble into each other's worlds?
From New York to Middle America to establish the mob's influence in that area. What an absurd comedy of errors.
Well, season 5 of Yellowstone is clearly being set up as a climax to plot lines that have been developing since season 1. The Dutton family will be facing their biggest challenge yet, and John might be forced to enlist the help of some old friends to deal with the problem, like those he has in the New York Mafia. Since Manfredi works for the Mafia in Tulsa, there's some potential there for him to be introduced as an ally when things get really rough. In fact, Dwight had already met a former bull rider in Tulsa that could be a point of contact with the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. When you think about the setting and characters within each show, it's not far-fetched to assume that they could exist within the same universe. Lastly, Yellowstone's future. Yellowstone is seemingly coming to an end with this 5th season, and though there are a ton of shows lined up that will further delve into the Dutton family, they're all going to be prequels. That means that the family story will have to have a definitive conclusion this season, or we get some hint of a potential sequel later down the line. It's possible that the Tulsa King series was purposely not marketed as being part of the Sheridanverse, to avoid spoiling the ultimate reveal this season that the story of some of the characters will continue in that new series. It might be wishful thinking, but no one can deny that having Costner's John Dutton and Stallone's Manfredi share the screen would be iconic. These are two legendary actors that defined a generation of cinema. Season 5 may show fans the end of the Dutton Ranch, but we're hoping that it's not the end of the Dutton story. Having them continue outside of their element might be a recipe for success. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that Tulsa King and Yellowstone will turn out to exist in the same universe? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see ya in the next one.